Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94 with me, Nikesh Rugani, BBC and SEN commentator, alongside Wisden's Sarah Waris. Sarah, how are you?
I'm good, excited for the BGT. I want to know your views. You're coming to India. How long has it been? How excited are you?
It's been a few years actually. Really excited. It kind of seems like we've been talking about this for months now, haven't we? But there's been so much other cricket to talk about in the run up to it that it's kind of, a week before and, a few days before now. And we're only just getting a chance to talk about it on this podcast. I assume a lot of excitement over in India, albeit, it's a test series and sometimes test series aren't quite as hyped, but this is the Aussies, right? It's the Border-Gavaskar Trophy and it's the big one. And it's also a chance to win the series and get into the final of the World Test Championship as well.
Definitely, tickets are already on sale and they are getting sold out. I think I hear the tickets in Nagpur are already sold out or close to sold out. So that just shows the hype around it. And Nagpur is not necessarily a big city, so not like a Mumbai or a Bangalore or Delhi's, but the craze is immense. The craze there has always been immense, and yeah, just imagine if it's going to be a turner, a rank turner, and the hype is just going to increase even more after that because everyone is going to talk about the pitch. Everyone is going to say, India shouldn't prepare such turners and all. And Nagpur has a history of producing rank turners, so really excited for the series to begin.
It will be a ranked turner. I don't think there's any question about that, is there? Should,
Yeah.
should there even be a question about that? Just do it now. Just scuff up the pitch from now, or obviously not scuff it up, but do you know what I mean? Just make
Yeah.
it tacky. It doesn't matter, does it? They know to expect that. They've been trying to prepare on some weird pitch before they left Australia, where it was literally scuffed up to the max, and that was their preparation for India. They arrived in Bangalore, and apparently their training facilities, where they're training at the moment, they've got pitches like that as well because they know what to expect. And there will be those people who come out and say, "Oh, is this proper Test cricket?" But I think, thankfully, because it's not England and it's not that sort of colonial mindset of our way is the right way, that I think it might be slightly different. The Aussies seem to have prepared for the fact that it is going to be a rank turner, and there don't seem to be any complaints already. That, I know we've not seen the pitch, we've not played on it, but you know, there's not that much negativity coming from there at the prospect of playing on a ranked turner. It's India's right; they're at home.
Yeah, definitely. Though Ian Healy did say something about the pitches uh, and about it being a turner and all that, but John Wright then tweeted saying that it's India is playing at home. You expect that, so there is no reason to complain because that's the whole point of having away and home series. So that's the whole beauty of Test cricket. Then just play it at neutral venues. Just have one pitch curator assigned by the ICC, and he's going to prepare pitches the same way all over. Why then have the hassle of traveling from one country to the other and playing in different conditions? Why do you call it Test cricket? Then that's Test cricket. So really excited, and even Delhi, the venue for the second Test, traditionally has had spinning wickets. So really excited for the first two matches. Yeah.
John Wright, I tell you what, I love that guy. Why has he not been given like some honor by the Indian government yet? He's already an honorary Indian citizen anyway. I know you can't have dual citizenship with an Indian one in there as well, so that's not going to happen. But just give him an make him like what are these awards, the Bharat Ratna and all those. Just
Yeah.
give him one of those. Legend, right? And sticking up for India to this day as well. Brilliant. Love that guy. He was at the start of all this, really, the change in mindset, the change in fortunes, traveling abroad, and it was him and Sourav Ganguly who kind of started it, really, in 2001. That series that was the turning point really of India starting. I know that was at home, but they started to believe that they can beat the best. They did beat the best, one of the very best cricket teams ever seen on this planet. And it was, what a series that was, with Lakshman and Harbhajan and Dravid contributing as well. And, Sachin in that final test in Chennai, where India just turned the screw and absolutely battered them after that follow-on victory at Eden Gardens. So many memories in the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, and John Wright is, part of quite a few of them as well. This one is going to be, I think, just as exciting, more so for the fact that I think the Australians they're coming with a bit of a determination this time, aren't they? They're obviously been playing well at home. They're number one in the rankings. They're pretty much through to the final of the World Test Championship, and they mean business. And they've got players who have won in Pakistan. They've won in Sri Lanka, traditionally two difficult places to go and win Test series. Sorry, they didn't win in Sri Lanka, but they won a Test match in Sri Lanka. So, it was a drawn series in the end, and that was nice for Sri Lanka because of all the protests that were happening at the time, and it just sort of had that feel-good factor for the home crowd. But to win a Test match in those conditions, where it was, I mean, they were all ranked turners as well, and they did well in those conditions to compete, Australia, and then beating Pakistan in Pakistan is never easy. So they've got experience recently of playing in these conditions. I know India is a completely different prospect, and India have got an amazing record in home Test matches in the last decade or so. But they mean business, don't they?
Definitely, and this is exactly what Pat Cummins also said, that it's kind of, or it was Usman Khwaja, I think, who equated it right next to the Ashes. Said that playing against India is right up there, and in India especially is even a bigger challenge. So he puts it right up there. Even Pat Cummins, he has said something that this is one of their biggest tests. They've done well in different conditions, and this will be their biggest test. Are you afraid about India's batting against spin? Traditionally, they've not had the best record against spinners. So I just have some stats here which says that only Jadeja, Iyer and Pant, they have an average of more than 55 in the last few years in Asia against spinners. And the likes of Pujara, average of 30 against spin. Kohli is 22, Rohit is 38, Rahul is 14, and even Gill, who is apparently, not apparently, you say that he's a good player of spin, he averages 38 against spin. So do you think it's going to be a challenge for India and the Indian batting? And is batting the weaker department heading into the series?
You could argue that definitely playing at home as well, because the strength is in India's spinners, isn't it? If we are going to see ranked turners, and even if we don't see complete rank turners, they've got a brilliant seam bowling stock as well at the moment. And if they are going to play two, then it's, probably Shami and Siraj. And we'll discuss our 11s, our possible 11s, both of us, later on in a few minutes' time. So do stay tuned for that. But yeah, you're right. You've just reeled off the stats there, and it has been traditionally the case that, I mean, look, Ajaz Patel in that Test match quite recently took a 10 for. I know India won the match comfortably, but again, it's the spinner doing all the damage. They've, even if you go back well beyond a decade to, say, the 2012 tour when England came, and England outspun India, and that's really kind of the time when India's struggles against spin started. And it wasn't quite as prominent then because they still had a couple of players in there from the previous era, the likes of Tendulkar and Dravid, etc. But Monty Panesar and Graham Swan spinning India to victory in that series, obviously Cook with all the runs, but they did all the damage with the ball, particularly in Mumbai. So it kind of started from then, and it's back to that point that I make, that these guys don't play Ranji Trophy cricket anymore, barely. And if they do, it's only as they're coming up, and then once they've played international cricket, they're very rarely available for Ranji Trophy cricket. And that's where, on the domestic circuit, even in the under-19 circuit, to be honest, you will get more spinners and more quality spinners playing on turning pitches, on potentially ranked turners. They won't be prepared as well as test match grounds. So they're going to be faced with those conditions. But this current generation of players, they just don't play enough of that. So when they come into international cricket, they probably haven't played that much quality spin bowling in their careers. So that myth about Indian players being good against spin, it's gone now. It is just a
Yeah.
myth. It's something of the past. And in the past, that was the case. Why was VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid and all these guys, Saurav Ganguly, such great players of spin? And obviously Sachin was great against everybody. But it's because they played against them so often in domestic cricket. And there were so many quality spinners on the domestic circuit who never got to play international cricket, but they still took bucket loads of wickets at the level just below and caused a lot of problems. And these guys had to be at their best to counter them. And they learnt how to play spin by playing these guys week in, week out through a Ranji season. So, yeah, that's gone. That could be India's biggest Achilles heel. But then
You
are
for
India better
yeah.
players of spin than Australia or other touring teams? That's the question.
Yeah. One more thing you forgot, Steve O'Keefe in 2017. He picked
Yeah,
up 12 wickets in that game, and then Moeen Ali in 2014, 2018 England tour, I think. So, yeah.
16,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So,
Oh, you mean when
yeah.
they came to England?
Yeah, when
Yeah,
they went
even
to
in
England.
England, Moeen Ali has got
Yeah.
a good record, and even if you look in the limited overs stuff, Adil
Hmm.
Rashid's got a great
Adil
record
Rashid.
as well,
Yeah.
and
Zampa.
Zampa,
Yeah.
Nathan Lyon hasn't done as well against India as he would have liked, but they have had their problems, haven't they?
Definitely, yeah. And you rightly spoke about the Australians being very wary of playing against spinners, especially Ashwin. I don't know if you saw the video which Bharat posted today. The Australian team have hired an Ashwin in their as a net bowler. He has a similar kind of action. I feel he's a little quicker than Ashwin, but just they know that they are going to struggle against spinners, and especially the kind of form Jadeja, Akshar, and Ashwin, all of them have been in. And with someone like a Kuldeep, uh, he might be in your 11. You've not told me what your 11 is going to be for the Nagpur test, but then no, there are four quality spinners in India's squad, and they know what is coming ahead of them. So yeah, it's going to be a very exciting series, that's all. Just one thing is, again, you said Lyon might not be much of a threat because he has not really had much success on wickets that are spinning. Probably gets a little bit of bounce there, so that could help India. uh, but again, yeah, exciting series awaits us.
Absolutely. I mean, he probably will be a threat, but not quite in the same way as some of the others have been because of his style, like you say. Right, we'll take a short break and then let's discuss our 11s on the other side.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
Right, so test 11s then. You've already sort of preempted something that might happen in my team. So let me just go through it and then we'll hear yours and we'll discuss. So I've gone Rohit and Gill, Shubman Gill to open the batting. Just the form he's in at the moment. He has to play and I think that's the best place for him. Pujara
One thing
3.
before you carry
Go
on, is this your 11 or the 11 you think India probably
Mine.
to go in with?
Mine.
Okay.
They should,
Yeah.
if they've got any sense, they should go with it. I say that tongue in cheek. I'm sure they know better than me, but this is what I'd go for. Rohit and Gill, Pujara 3, Kohli 4, KL Rahul 5. Doesn't have the gloves though.
Yeah.
Ishan Kishan 6.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. I'll probably get some stick for that, for jumping on the hype wagon of Ishan Kishan. I'll explain more in a minute. Jadeja 7. We think he's fit. He's played in Ranji, did well, took a 7 for. Ashwin 8, Kuldeep 9. So yes, Kuldeep Yadav is in there. Point of difference, wrist spinner. And then Shami and Siraj, the two seamers. So go on, give us your 11, then we'll discuss.
Mine is Rohit and Rahul at the top. Pujara, Kohli. 5, there is Gill. 6 is Jadeja. 7 is Bharat. I have Bharat as my wicket keeper, and instead of Kuldeep, I have Akshar in my 11. The rest is the same with Shami, Siraj, and Ashwin in
yeah.
the 11. Yeah.
Right, where do we start? Shall we start
Right.
with wicketkeeper? Why have you gone KS Bharat?
I just feel that India needs the better wicket keeper. In the 2 wickets, Nagpur and Delhi both are going to spin, and I just feel that having the better wicket keeper makes a lot of sense. You need 20 wickets to win the test match, and that might not happen if you have a wicket keeper who's dropping a lot of catches, or and Kishan has not kept wickets in India since 2020, while Bharat has kept wickets. You can argue that there's not a lot of difference between the two when you look at them batting wise. Kishan averages 38, Bharat averages 37 in first class, so not a lot of not a very standout stats. Kishan is the left hander, yeah, but just because I have gone in with the better wicket keeper, someone like a Riddhiman Saha, he might not have won you games with the bat a lot. He had a few good knocks, but always the better wicket keeper, especially if you're playing in India. That's my reasoning for it. Why have you gone with
Yeah, you're
Kishan?
right. I mean, look, Kishan's the most like-for-like replacement for Rishabh Pant. The Aussies fear Rishabh Pant more than anyone, I think, apart from Kohli in the Indian lineup, with the bat, that is. So that's the reason I've got. It's just sort of almost countering the Aussies with something that they did for so many years, with somebody like an Adam Gilchrist coming in down the order, and you think you've got the early wickets, and then all of a sudden somebody launches a counter-attack. Obviously, look, both of these guys are going to be making test debuts, so we're not expecting miracles straight away. But I think Kishan's just got more of a sort of potential to be that impact player. Whereas Bharat, you're right, they averaged very similar, 38 and 37 in first-class cricket. And, Bharat, he has got 900s in first-class cricket as well. So, more than capable of scoring the big scores as well on occasion. It just doesn't fill me with as much confidence with the bat. But then you're right, there is the concern about Ishan Kishan and the gloves. So it's almost a bit of a toss-up that I did there. It was a very 50-50 call for me. And I just went for Kishan because, left-hander, like you say, but also that impact player down the order. And I think he's got more potential with the bat, as we've seen in limited overs cricket, double century in ODIs, albeit a different format. But he's got that more potential. I think there's a lot more to come from Kishan, whereas I think with Bharat, this is his kind of level, and whatever he's doing now, I'm not sure he's got any, too much room for improvement. But you're right, catches win matches, stumpings do. So it's not easy keeping to these spinners on those tracks. So that's my reasoning. You've given your reasoning, 50-50 call. They'll probably go with Bharat, I think, if you're asking me now what they will do. But we'll see. I also think it just, I don't have as much trust with him with the bat as you probably don't, because you've put him at 7 and you've put Jadeja at 6.
Yeah.
But then if you're putting Jadeja at 6 in a test match, I know it's in India, but it just seems a little bit light.
There's
me.
Ashwin
Just
there.
a little bit light. I know there's
there.
Ashwin, but there are all
Akshar
these.
can bat a bit. He can be promoted at number 4 also if you want. Just one thing before we move on to the bowling is, if you have KL Rahul at number 5, why not then have him keep wickets and Surya Kumar Yadav there. Surya Kumar Yadav, I was just looking at his numbers. It's kind of funny that he has a better test average than he has an ODI average. You expected him to do well in ODIs also, so can he be like the Pant kind of a player? You don't expect him to do well in test cricket. He was supposed to be the white ball monster and all, but he's done so well in test cricket. So do you think Sky can come in? Sky can be the X factor, and he you never know, he can be someone like a Pant. You don't expect much of him, but he has an average of 44, 45, so which means that it's not a fluke or something. He's been doing that consistently, so why not have a Sky there and go in with the gamble?
Good shout. Can't argue with that really, because I suppose if you look at KL Rahul and Ishan Kishan as wicket keepers, I mean, maybe Kishan's a little bit better,
Yeah.
a bit more agile as a wicket keeper, but they're very similar in their abilities in that department. So yeah, that could be an option as well. Why have you gone Rahul at the top just quickly before the bowlers and Gill in the middle?
I just feel that they are going to do that. So why spend time arguing something which I know is not going to happen. So that was my stupid logic for it.
Okay, fair enough. I've gone Gill at the top. Look, he did well against the Aussies last time at the top, when we beat them down under. I just think it works well. I think his style is a bit more suited to opening, and Rahul has had a bit of a barren time. Just hide him in the middle order there. He can do a good job wherever he bats if he gets going anyway. So, okay, so we've discussed the batting. A few little points of difference between our sides, but then the bowling, the one made change is I've gone Kuldeep, you've gone Akshar Patel. I'm assuming you've gone Akshar Patel because of his record in India
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah, and because India have gone with that, I know I agree to why you have picked Kuldeep also. He's just that point of difference, as you said earlier. But I feel with Akshar, you can probably increase your bowling depth or batting depth with him also in the 11. So, that way you have, if you include Bharat or Kishan, if you are still in doubt about their batting skills, then you still have a proper batting. I consider Ashwin as a proper batter, so he's like 6 or 7. And then there's Akshar Patel who can bat around. He has been promoted up the order also in the past, so just that extra batting depth, and he's not done badly with the ball to be dropped, in my opinion. Last time India played a test match in India against Sri Lanka, they did go in with Akshar, Ashwin and Kuldeep, and Jadeja, and they all did well. So yeah, that's the reason I've gone in with Akshar Patel.
Fair enough. I just like a wrist spinner. They can probably win without a wrist spinner, but it's just something different. If it's not quite working with the finger spinners, then, if it's not quite a rank turner on day one, for example, say Australia win the toss, they bat first, it's not completely turning square and spitting and skidding on, in an unplayable fashion on day one, then the wrist spinner comes into it, and you could cause a few problems of a different sort. So that's the reason I've gone Kuldeep. They'll probably go Akshar, like you say, but if it was me, I'd go Kuldeep. And then I don't think there's much argument with the seamers, Shami and Siraj. No Bumrah for the first 2 tests. And no Iyer, by the way. That's why we haven't discussed him in the conversation. He's not fit for the first test either. So that made our selections a little bit easier. Otherwise, that would have been a headache. But yeah, Shami and Siraj, no argument really.
Definitely no argument. Shami Siraj should be there. Maybe moving for, if you go to Dhamshala and all, if the wickets are a little more pace friendly, then you might have Umesh in there also. And then I don't know who the spinner will be who gets dropped, because India might not play 3 seamers and then 3 spinners also. So that would be
They might do
interesting
if they're
to
all
see.
3 all-rounders, the spinners.
Yeah, good call. Yeah,
Never know.
probably.
They'll still bat till 8 then, which will be decent. But yeah, okay. So that's what we reckon. What do you reckon? Leave us some comments at the bottom of the video if you're watching on YouTube. Tweet us at Nikesh Ragani, at SYRIS16, or at 9994DM on social media. We've got our own Indian Twitter account as well, IND, so IND on 9994. Is it DM? I can't remember. You'll find us. Yeah. Search for us. You'll find us. So yeah, just let us know if you agree or disagree, and we'll see what happens on February the 9th when the first test kicks off. Right, we'll take another short break and we'll be back in a moment.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
Right, so Sarah, just before we wrap up this episode, let's have a quick run down memory lane as well, because it's such an iconic series. Border-Gavaskar, the inception was 96, from when it was called the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, and this sort of rivalry started, really. I mean, look, the first one I kind of remember was 98, although we didn't really get the live coverage in the UK at that point in time. We only had highlights and stuff, but Sachin taking Shane Warne to pieces, Navjot Sidhu as well was getting involved and stuck in that series as well. India winning that series in 98, and that was really when I felt, I mean, I know they played together in 92 or something, when Sachin first played Warne and Shastri, and Sachin took him apart in that test match, with Sachin getting a century, and I think Shastri might have got a double century in that one as well. So they've had their battles over the years, but that 98 series in Indian conditions, a lot was expected of a prime Shane Warne, really. And Sachin just absolutely took him to the cleaners. And it was Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan who was actually preparing Sachin for that series by bowling to him in the nets into a massive rough patch outside his leg stump. And Sachin kind of figured out how he can play, big turning leg spin of Shane Warne in that series. And then 2001, I mentioned. I mean, I don't know what more you could say. I could do like 6 episodes on just that, probably Eden Gardens test match, to be honest. So much to say about that. What are your memories of it?
I started watching from 2008. So the Perth test, I remember watching the Sydney test match, and those wrong decisions, and I think it was the Saurav Ganguly dismissal which was wrongly given out. Vividly remember that, and Saurav Ganguly
Was it Steve
furious.
Buckner, the umpire?
Yeah, it was Steve Buckner, and then Ricky Ponting's raising his finger, being the umpire. Yeah, that's out and all. And I don't have much memory of the first 2 test matches, but this was the proper Sydney test match. I saw the full thing, and the last day, and it just made me angry. I was a teenager then. I was very new to cricket, and I was like, okay, this is how, this is unfair. How why are you treating Indians like this or something? So it just became this whole thing for me. And then the Perth test match, with all that had happened, the monkey gate, as you call it, and then the Perth test match. And I remember then 2011 they went, and 2011 they had the 4-0, they lost 4-0, and it was after the highs of 2011 World Cup. Then they had lost 4-0 to England, and then 4-0 to Australia, and it was just a lack of fight which was annoying to me. It was the way India were losing. It wasn't the fact that they were losing, it was the way they were losing which was annoying. And then came 2014 before 2014 actually, when India toured England in 2014, I was actually very vocal about Virat Kohli becoming the test captain for Australia tour. And all my friends, like, I have a lot of Facebook posts about it. All my friends were like, Kohli is not going to be a good captain. He's too aggressive. He's this and that. You need someone calm like Dhoni and all that. And I was like, Kohli will be a great test captain. And then he had that injury, and then just that Adelaide test match. And one more thing which I recently read, I don't know if you've read R. Sridhar's book, the fielding coach's book. So in that, he's actually narrating an incident about the 2014 test match in Adelaide, where Dhoni is telling Kohli that you shouldn't really go after the target. You should play it safe, draw the test match. And Kohli was like, I really respect you, but I'm going to do this my way. So right, he was pretty much young then. He was young then, and to say something like that to Dhoni back then, d- and yeah, the rest as they say
Dhoni, I
is
mean, to be
history.
honest, yeah, I've seen that, and it's, you know, that was the change in guard, really, the change in mentality once again, because it was unthinkable, really, in days gone past to try and do that in Australia. You'd want to make the match secure first, and only then, if there was really a chance of winning it, would you go for it very late on. But MS Dhoni, look, I've got to admit, as a captain, he messed up a lot of times, and I don't want this to be into MS Dhoni bashing, but in Test cricket, I don't think he was a very good captain, and he inherited a very, very, very good side, number one side in the world, actually, that 2008 series at home to Australia, where Kumble started off as a captain, got injured, and then Dhoni took over, and then it was kind of after Kumble retired, then Dhoni got the reins full time. He inherited such a good side, number one side in the world, and he didn't do anything with them in Test cricket. That was really disappointing, really, really disappointing. And that mentality was part of it. There was a Test match in the West Indies, I can't remember which year, 9,
exactly.
10, something like that. An easily chaseable target, and he just blocked out, and they ended up losing. And that's what can happen. And that Kohli series, where he took over the captaincy, and they lost at Adelaide, but the fact they got fairly close, there was only 50 runs or something in it in the end, and the fact they gave it a go, that made me so proud. That made me more proud than when India went to Australia in 03-04 and drew that series. And that was a fantastic performance by that team. They lost this series, but just that Test match in Adelaide made it feel like almost a victory, not in the series itself, but just for what was to come, really, under the captaincy of Virat Kohli. And he showed it. They went to England in 2021, and they were 2-1 up. We say they won the series 2-1, whatever it might be. 18-19 in Australia, they won that under his captaincy. He wasn't the captain for the final 3 matches of the next series down under, but it was a lot of his hard work and the team that he put together, and that spirit that he and Ravi Shastri both put together, actually, that created the opportunity to even believe that they could compete once he went home, let alone win that series from the position they were in with the players that were unavailable and all the shenanigans that happened. So many great moments. And the 03-04, bit before your time, but Tendulkar scoring a double century at Sydney without playing a cover drive. I mean, if you read about that in his book, and the whole build up to that as well, just amazing story. Ganguly setting things off at the Gabba to get that draw with 144 in the first test. That was really the start of being able to compete in Australia as well, which was a big thing for India, and drawing that series was brilliant. So lots of memories, lots of hype around this one, and we look forward to it. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction.
No
May
prediction.
the best team win.
And may that team be India.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this episode, this build up to the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. As I say, do sort of message us with your suggestions for who you think should be picked in that 11 for India. Just a quick word on Australia as well. No Mitchell Starc available for the first test. No Cameron Green. I think Green affects their balance. We did touch briefly on Nathan Lyon. I think they will go with at least the 2 spinners. Obviously, they'll go with Lyon and Agar, and then probably Swepson. but we'll see. On depends on who's available, depends on the pitch as well, because they have got one thing that India haven't got, and they've got potentially two bowlers. They've got two of the greatest batters in the world at the moment in Test cricket, Labuschagne and Smith, and Khwaja actually, who had some visa issues, and thankfully he's in India now after all that got sorted out. But Smith and Labuschagne both bowl as well, and can turn. And Smith's started his career as a leg spinner, so there's potential for some overs from those guys, just like Joe Root did against India a couple of years ago as well. So we'll wait and see, but thanks for joining us on this episode, and see you next time.